And I'm back. Sorry. I know that you guys are sick of me by now, but all right. So I'm now waiting for Bobby to jump in because I just realized I never sent him an invite to his own software. But once he gets in here, then so I know that I just jumped from one to the other. And on that note, I'm going to, while we're waiting for Bobby to jump in, need to give Bobby more accesses. I'm in the right one, right? Governor. Yes. Okay. So, no, we do not support this. And I've had, like I said in the prior show, I've had numerous school board members across the state say thank you. And you're going to see conservative school board members not voting for this. And if you're like, why? Okay. Especially in divisions like dumpster fire divisions like Chesterfield, Fairfax, Loudoun. Let me see what Bobby's doing. Sorry. Hello, Bobby. Okay. So I'm back over here. Waiting for Bobby to come in. Oh, there's Bobby.
Oh, sorry, I was trying to type my title in. Apparently, I screwed that up. That's okay. I got my name right, and that's what counts.
That's all that matters. Okay, yeah. So I was just I jumped from one straight to the other.
I saw that.
But so I was telling, because we've had numerous conservative school board members from dumpster fire communities reach out to us and say thank you. And, people are shocked at why would you not support this? And,
right.
So first I want to, I'm going to show because I was so wrapped up in all the other stuff that they're not doing that I really didn't get time to focus on this. So I'm going to show your video real quick.
Okay.
But first I've got to, really the night before, it's important to notice that I've been talking about this with divisions, like yelling at them. You don't have the original policy. Why are you doing this? And Bobby was kind of like caught, like, what is, and I gave him the documents and he did the work, which is what I continue to tell people. Do the work. Read what was, read what is, research what they're saying to you, read the words. And I did not talk to him in the next 24 hours. And so I was like sitting in the audience, like, because he got it. And this is where every parent needs to be. And he took a stand that I did not take because I was wrapped up in other stuff, but I could not have been more proud because he did what we do. And that is called being, whoa, that's too many screens. Hold on. Is that when you are principally driven and you do your principles, like we've heard multiple, we talked about it last weekend in Fairfax, is that you have to understand that by continuing to adopt failing policies, especially in divisions like Chesterfield, well, you have to look at this policy and say, this has been going on for 2 years. How exactly are you going to dismantle this in a division of 69 schools that is rogue nation? Nobody's held accountable. How exactly are you going to make this straight children opt out? Like, is that we have to start asking the big questions. What exactly does this look like is really the questions that people have to start asking themselves in these things. Is like, what does this look like? Like, what would this look like if your policy is a whole bunch of blah, 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 blah? You need to ask before you vote on it.
Rights. It's equally.
Oh, there we go.
I'm here to address a matter of most importance: the protection of parental rights, an essential pillar of our society. Just as so many firmly defend our Second Amendment rights, it's equally.
It'll come. Yep.
crucial to stand up for the rights of parents enshrined in the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. The 14th Amendment guarantees equal protection under the law of all citizens, regardless of race or background. It also upholds the fundamental principle that no state shall deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law. Due process of law. Parental rights grounded in the amendment grant us the autonomy to raise our children according to our values and beliefs, fostering a sense of family and unity. These rights are not immune to attack. Autonomy to raise our children according to our values and beliefs, fostering a sense of family and unity. These rights As parents, we have witnessed a growing trend of encroachments on parents' ability to make decisions for their children's upbringing. The government intervening to strip the child away from the parental control and establish children's rights that overpower the parental rights. There are small organizations and government right now that are advocating for that very scenario to happen. Just as many passionately advocate for our Second Amendment rights, it is also crucial that we also channel that same energy and commitment of safeguarding the rights of parents when it comes to the upbringing and education of their children. Parental rights are the cornerstone of a free and just society, enabling families to make informed decisions and align their values and beliefs. The Constitution exists not to just guide us, but to protect us from government overreach. In conclusion, let us remember that just as we defend and preserve our Second Amendment rights, we parents must also stand united to preserve our parental rights. Our children's future and fabric of our society depend on our unwavering dedication to the principles that founded this nation.
Bravo. Bravo. Now, now while you're talking, I'm going to find, but how, I want people to understand you and your journey and how you came to this conclusion that no, we will not support this.
Know me, I've advocated for Second Amendment rights for many years. I helped head basically an organization back in the day, helped make Chesterfield County a 6-2A sanctuary county when nobody else was doing it. Of course, the CDL was very strong in that effort as well, most likely a lot stronger than I was, but it still didn't matter. I was grassroots Chesterfield County. I was able to pull up about 10,000 signatures, not just from Chesterfield County, but from surrounding counties as well. Long story short,
which, by the way, is how we came together, because you tried to get a petition for masking, and that was one of the first conversations we had. Is you can get people to mount up, but when it comes to they're coming after your children.
That's correct. So I wouldn't say it was easy to get those signatures. I did all kinds of methods, in person, online, all that good stuff. Never got shut down, believe it or not, at that point for that one. And so board of supervisors adopted it, and boom, 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 long story short. So I thought I could do the same thing with the mask scenario. I said, let's just do the same thing. And it was a masking thing that started off with. We both know that a lot of people already know that story. You came along and here we are. But I thought, well, I would start up a petition for that. It just died on arrival. And got killed on different platforms, and people weren't really interested, which you thought they would be. And so I have a lot of 2A friends. I have a lot of people that I know within the advocacy of it, and they fight hard. Tooth and nail to this. Just boom. But when it comes to trying to get parents to come out and fight for the rights of their children, it's just so odd to me that that same passion, that same desire, if you want to call it that, doesn't seem to exist. So I don't know if it's just that people just don't know, if they just need to be educated, or if they just need to wake up and say, look, they want to take your parental rights away, and they want them to have full control. They want the government, they want these people, these others, to have full control of your child, and you have zero decisions, and the child makes the decisions. And we're already seeing that happening now. So it's like, what did I say? I think I said in that one, I said, you'll take my parental rights over my dead cold hands, whatever. It's a saying that the Second Amendment advocates say all the time.
That's why I made the shirt that I wore was an adaptation of, the Roman mask, and it was from 2A, and it was, this slogan, and then on the back, it was 14A, which is one of them, come and
Mhm.
take it. Because if you do not have that mentality of you will have to pry it out of my cold, dead hands. If you are not advocating for your children in that aspect, like, and that's how that shirt came. People were like, can you explain that? I'm like, do you understand 2A, come and take it? They're like, yes. And I'm like, okay, well then
Same,
apply.
same thing.
I had numerous
Yeah.
people after the meeting say, can you explain that? I said, do I have to explain the 2A version? No. Okay, then I don't have to explain this version.
And it's something that should be nonpartisan, but unfortunately, the way society is now, it seems they pin us against each other on that 50-50, which there are some organizations advocating for, parents don't have the right to choose for their children because that will harm their social emotional well-being, and then the parents would be accused of abuse. So there's organizations out there really.
I posted those articles, and the two big ones, if you want your mind blown, or in the group, I shared screenshots of them, on my page. But that's what I do all day is I read the law reviews coming out of Columbia, Harvard, Yale. Is that if you want to know how bad this is that you, the parent, if you remove your children from school, you are indoctrinating them in your worldview, and you are abusing them. Yes. By grooming them into what and this is where from the other show I just did, I'm so sorry. My children are an extension of my body. I did not give birth to them for you to then hand them over. But parents have been demoralized. Like, it's been a slow process. And so to get to the point, it's been like 2 years for me, to get to the point to where I am we are the patriot parents. And I do not call the Republican Party the parents' party ever again. I can tell people that, just stop it. Is that you can see continuous delegates grandstand in the General Assembly about gun rights. I would love to see one of them do the same, because they all have children that they probably homeschool, that most of them homeschool. Is that if you cannot get up, and I tell all the time, and talk about your parental rights, what they are, where they come from, and no, it is not one line in the Code of Virginia, you better start, because what's coming out of these law reviews is disturbing. As those screenshots I shared, that's what and it's all UN child rights. I tell people all the time, read the UN Child Rights Convention, and you will understand the verbiage where this is coming from.
Well, that's 100% truth there. So I just wish more parents would understand that fact, that, just as much as they defended their Second Amendment, since everybody feels good about it now, right? Or a lot, much better, because we have the administration is going to protect our 2A rights, all that good stuff. But there's still laws in the books that need to go away that infringe on our Second Amendment right now. And of course, the ordinances that are set forth inside the city and some localities. So all that, we gave all that up. They fought and it happened. They gave it all up, but they're not going back and advocating for change. They're just letting it sit on the books. And I know there's some organizations like VTL and all that stuff. What I'm saying is that a lot of these laws are within this policy, I don't think people really even know they exist. And until you read what laws are involved that actually formed this policy, you're sitting there.
I'm going to pull it up.
Yeah. And I have it in front of me on paper format. I'm not a tech right now.
First, I want to show, I didn't get to it in the previous show, is that if you didn't know there was a September policy, it's very important, I cannot emphasize the importance of this, to print the September policy and the July policy and compare them side by side. Because in between the show that I just did, the JCAR hearing, is that September, this policy came out. December was the ACLU, because that's really, guys, with the governor is the ACLU, just in case you didn't know. The ACLU, Equality Virginia, that disgusting hearing that I just went over, happened in December. And then this one comes out. But it's important, so if you question anything, question what in the world is happening here. Because so right here, so can you see? Okay, give me a second. Talk about your documents and your cases while I got to download these so I can zoom in.
Sure. I guess one of the ones that changed, I know that you shared on your Facebook page, which I think Matt at school board meeting mentioned, was that they added the word consent or context, which I thought was odd, that the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution guarantees religious freedom and prohibits the government from compelling speech in some context.
Yeah. Yep.
I would need some context in that word context, because
Okay, I'm going to pull that up. I just downloaded it. So,
that was one of the
so-
changes that were done. And that's not even getting into the policy. That's just getting into some of
but
these
that right
changes.
there. Okay. So right here. So this was the September. Okay. I'm going to zoom in. Okay, here. Okay, September. The First Amendment of the United States Constitution guarantees religious freedom and prohibits the government from compelling speech that is contrary to any person's personal or religious beliefs. Okay. That was September. And then let's jump to July. Okay. What in the world is this? The First Amendment of the United States guarantees religious freedom and prohibits the government from compelling speech in some contexts.
What in the world? Yeah.
I sent that to Matt, and Matt was like, wait a minute, I'm sorry, what does that say?
Yeah.
But is that, you know, the department fully acknowledges the rights of parents as, you know, protected by the 14th Amendment. But if you go back to the original, it said granted by the 14th Amendment. And that's not even getting into like the bad stuff, because then we'll go to
I like to save that, because I think a lot of, you know, just kind of getting into layman terms a little bit here as well. A lot of people that I know personally, people that are consider themselves very strong conservatives, and I consider them as well as good friends as well. They do not understand what's in this until they actually get to it. And there's a lot of fluff, a lot of feel-good stuff in the beginning, like, yes, that's what we're going to do. Yes, this is awesome. I cannot wait. That makes sense. We shouldn't have, you know, another gender in the same, you know, a male competing in a woman's or girl's sport. We shouldn't. A lot of this is written in there that a lot of people could support. Well, which is also law, written in law too. But it's when you get to the end of all the fluff. But
even right here. So in the September document, look what was first. Okay. Parents have the right to make decisions with respect to their children. This was September.
Yeah.
Okay. But then you go to July. Okay. Schools shall respect all students. Okay. And then parents. Okay. Because in the September document, that portion, which I don't think I have a picture of, but still, it was like E is the subsection that this portion about children, that it was at the bottom. It was like subsection E, is that you have to start questioning what in the world is going on. Because and then it says right here, the United States 14th Amendment provides that parents have a fundamental right. And you see, this is like, my notes usually on these documents, they're definitely not PG. And then July recognizes that parents, well, which one is it? Because here is that this is when I say the devil is in the details. The devil is in the details. Is that provides that parents, okay, well, that's not even correct. And then all of a sudden in July recognizes is that even if you don't understand, is that, and that's just what I grabbed in like 2 seconds, like without fully dissecting. And then we come to the big one. So this is the one So this would be the one that a lot of people are missing. So school boards, this would be September. Okay. And so when I kept saying, guys, straight children are going to have to opt out, they were like, that's ridiculous. And I was like, have you read anything? Have you read anything? Because this would be September. Okay. This was halfway. A team of appropriate school staff and other caregivers should collaborate with parents to identify reasonable accommodations or modifications, taking into account the resources of the staff So this was students with distinctive needs, including any student with a persistent and sincere belief. Okay, so this would have been what people, I think we're still under with this policy.
Right.
So this, notice it ends right here and it goes to C. But when you get to the July version, it's very different. And so tell me
Oh, very different.
what you okay, so here you can see that it doesn't end because the same thing is here. So read this and just explain to people why we don't support this.
Okay. So this is actually part of the policy, obviously, which is on the subsection G, I guess. But it basically, it says this, and I'm going to put my glasses on. To ensure that all students have access to a learning environment in which they feel comfortable and safe, where state or federal law schools permit transgender students to share otherwise sex-segregated facilities, such as bathrooms or locker rooms, with the students of the opposite sex. Parents should be given the right to opt their child out of using such facilities, and the child should be given access to an alternative facility. Alternative, sorry. I was just trying to pronounce it. And then and promote the child's privacy and safety. Eligible students should be given the same right to opt out. So non-trans children have to opt out of being exposed to the opposite sex inside their restroom. That's how this is written.
Now, people who are like, well, no, that means that parents have to opt. Okay, this is where
parents would have to opt out unless you're an eligible student.
People read that as, well, that means that trans children, okay. But even if you didn't read the legalese of that, common sense would tell you trans children have always been allowed without opt-outs to go to a principal or for the last however many years and use whatever bathroom facility they've wanted. Not to mention the fact that, do you really think a school is going to send a trans, they hate us. They think that we are destroying they want to remove our rights. Do you really think that trans children, parents, are going to be notified to opt their children out for a different bathroom choice?
They won't know about it. And then they'll inadvertently be exposed to, and the thing is, the argument on this, and I've got a lot of conservative people saying, there's a lot of good things about this policy, blah, blah, blah. The transgender people have to go through a process in order to change their name, a letter. There's law in place. There's a lot of different things you can change. It's a lot easier to change their gender marker than it is change their name, right? So if they change their birth certificate, which is part of this policy, if they have a parent write a letter, they can change the mark and they had to see a health professional official, whatever. And the law now in the state of Virginia, you can change your gender marker a lot easier than you can change your name because you got to go get a court order and all that good stuff. But with the gender marker, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ann, but the gender marker, they can change their gender marker on their birth certificate, which is part of the requirement of what they identify as at school. So when they do that, then they've gone through the proper procedure. The parent can write a letter to the school wanting a name change, but it still refers back to that. But that allows them the ticket into the restroom. And so they're like, well, they got to go through all that stuff, Bobby. They got to go through all that red tape. I said, okay, cool, great. That sounds wonderful. Are they going to wear lanyards? Are they going to wear badges? Are they going to wear bracelets that identify that they went through the proper procedure and they got through? No,
and
they're
that's
not.
What people need to understand is that tell me what this looks like is what you need to say to people. One, I can tell me what this looks like, because in Chesterfield County where we live is that it has been, and it's been 2 years. So to readjust teachers who have been desensitized into letting males and females roam freely wherever they want, tell me exactly what this process is going to look like. How are you going to, that's the questions that you need to be asking, is exactly what process are you going to do, especially in divisions that have done this? And then tell me what the process for the opt-out is for a county that won't even acknowledge federal or state opt-out. The parents have to go find an opt-out. No, they have an opt-out.
No.
But then the problem is that then you have to ask the question, so for the past 2 years, children have been allowed to use whatever bathroom, straight children could go find a different option without opting out, okay? Is that when you add the opt-out, What happens if a straight child just says, I need to go to a different bathroom? Do you have an opt-out? These are the things that people are not realizing. Is your child going to be denied the ability to use a different bathroom if they do not have an opt-out?
Good question. Mm-hmm.
Is that is why we are not supporting this, is because if you are on the outside of public education, or you are on the outside looking in and you don't know the hell that parents and children are going through or the process of this, shut your mouth and understand, because I can tell you that you cannot dismantle this and make this work. And again, this is not what we elected. I will have to throw that in.
I mean, I wouldn't even, in my personal opinion, I want to ball this up and throw it in the trash with those things in it, because I don't even think it should have been written in the first place. We shouldn't even be discussing this right now, because those portions of it, yes, I know it's Grimm versus Gloucester County School Board in 2020. I know that's law in here, and I get that. But that's
bathroom.
Not.
That's bathrooms.
That's bathrooms only, yes.
Where I am is
Yeah.
if the governor, and you can share this wherever you want, executive orders have the force of law. And if I'd done this 2 years ago, we would have been a lot farther. Parents, if you think a policy that your school board's going to adopt is going to protect your parental rights, you better wake up. Parents are like, well, this is going to protect us. Wake up. So here's where I am. If the governor doesn't, and this is where we are, if the governor does not EO executive order the return of parental rights, I don't care what Fairfax, Chesterfield, Richmond, any of them do. You are the governor. It is your job to govern the state. And that means to make sure that all of us have our civil rights protected. And anybody that's sitting back there waiting for, oh, we have to pass another law. No, we do not wait and pass another law, because the law did not remove parental rights. The Department of Education did. And so he can acknowledge it in a policy. And if I read one more article that says, oh, Governor Youngkin is upset with school boards, are you kidding me? So this is where we all have to be, is that if you're not prepared to put on your armor, your mantle, whatever you want to call it, and go to war, and you're willing to let your parental rights, like your guns, be taken from you, and you think a policy is going to protect you, because I will see him in this. You know me, I will mortgage my house. I will second mortgage my house. I will sell everything I own, because, and this is where every patriot, every American, not a Virginian, not a Republican, because if you think that you're a Democrat and they're going to stop with you, this is where everybody better come together, because when they come for your right, they're coming for your rights too. And they're actually targeting poor Black communities. Yet again, like with Head Start, is that they're going to come in, they're going to find you unfit. CPS is going to come take it's all one thing. But if you think that, if you don't have a problem with the fact that our governor doesn't understand, if that's what you want to use, that, and this is across this, that, no, I'm sorry, Parents Matter, Governor Youngkin, is that EO, force of law, return of parental rights, immediately. It is your job to govern the state. Period.
Well, there's definitely verbiage in this that's got children's rights over parental rights, and you can see it. And I think you highlighted it somewhere before. I meant to highlight it myself. So I mean, to my Second Amendment friends out there that have been with me, this is a fight that needs to be fought. I'm going to say that, all amendments are important, and I know you guys argue that the second protects the rest. I get that. But just equate it to this is the only analogy I could actually come up with. And it's about as close as I could possibly get, I think. So if they started another policy, if you want to call it, or something like that, I know a lot of you guys are supporting this particular policy, but they were to take all the ordinances away that would allow you to go in the parks and be and conceal, which you can still do because Second Amendment, but nobody wants to get in trouble. And you take all the anti-gun laws away and say, you know what, we'll take all these things away. We'll release the bans on certain firearms. Now that you can buy them, we're good. We're going to do all these things for you. But at the end, they say, we're going to ask you that you need to register every single one of them with the serial numbers and under your name. Would that be something you would support? No. And that's why I don't support this policy, because there's stuff in here that I cannot get behind morally. And I just can't do it for the transgender bathrooms, the 14th Amendment attack, making a non-transgender kid opt out, which is 97.5%. And I believe it's right for transgender students is raising in the schools. I don't
Oh,
understand why.
it has skyrocketed since in
Yeah.
2 years. It went from 04 to who knows what it's at now, like 8%. It's not in the water, okay? It's the cool thing to do now, except besides being emo, where when we grew up, you can't wipe this off. You can't wipe the
Yeah.
black eyeliner off your face.
No.
Um,
So the long story short is we're not supporting this film. Believe it or not, neither are. I mean, based on what I'm hearing at school board meetings, the transgender population is not supporting it either. So I mean,
But
we're sort of aligned.
they are solely like, so here's the thing is that you can tell who these people are. They got the bathrooms.
Yeah.
Is that they are not supporting it because of parental rights. 100%. That is
Right.
and that shows you that is
Exactly.
that is not about protecting children. That is not about these children and their safety, which I have been saying all along. These are special interest groups who are
Yep.
being paid money to to flip the world upside down. Is that if I mean, you can have whatever you want. They continue to cite Gavin v. Grimm. This is your law that you can continue to cite. If you're pissed that they are now not letting it be a free for all, sorry, that's the one you continue to cite. And if you go back to the JCAR video, they talk about over and over. Is that if you're pissed about that it can't just be a willy-nilly, I decide I'm going to be a whatever today. Sorry. That's
Right.
the one that you use. But most importantly, it falls down to when you read the news, the liberal mainstream media citing how angry the world is about Youngkin's policy, the litmus test for what we then should advocate for is not what the media is telling us they're pissed about. Because go read the documents. The only thing that they have to be pissed about is, and they're going to use this, you're going to have children commit suicide. There's actually so much research out there that this is a tactic. Now you can read Rules for Radicals. You can read Beautiful Trouble. There's books out that they have tactics. Is that it's like the one where they say, would you rather have a live son or a dead daughter? That's ones that they use on parents to get parents to buy into this. Is that these tactics, like the children coming up and saying, my friend, their parent abused them and they thought about committing suicide. That dialogue has to stop, because until you show me the receipts, because the rise in suicide rate is that we have to stop acknowledging that it's because of parents. Okay, I can pull up CPS rates that show you the abuse rate in CPS versus founded for children or for parents. Is that we have to stop accepting the dialogue. Show me the receipts of the children, not just the coulda, woulda, shoulda, or who you heard from your neighbor's sister's mom, brother that could have maybe abused their trans kid. That is not how we do things. Because the amount of good parents, amazing parents versus what coulda, woulda, shoulda, that dialogue has to end. Is that show me the proof that, and then again, it still doesn't matter. I will resort to, I think, 1970 something, the status notion, this is Supreme Court, that the rights of all must be removed for the perceived, abuse. It literally the abuse of some. That's where it's important to know common law, is that in the Supreme Court, is that it's literally stated in the Supreme Court from 1974. I think it was Warren Burgess. I'll look it up, Chief Justice. But is that, no, I'm sorry, but it says right here, and that would be 1974, part of the whole long stream of, no, even it says in here, the status notion of removing the rights of all for the perceived wellness of a few. I mean, is that, no, I'm sorry, but even if you don't remove the rights of all, because that's called due process. People have to understand due process, okay? Do criminals have due process? Yes. If you get your children the rights taken away from you, you have to go through, like, literally, if you're found unfit, you have to go through what? Due process.
Yeah.
The mentality of the school can remove you from the picture and you have no say in it. you like, this is where I get passionate, is that if people don't wait, I mean, it baffles my mind, the thought that people are like, oh, well, they just took my parental rights. And I don't know if like I have like Thomas Jefferson or somebody like living in my brain, or if I'm the only one, like, but when I like, it's about to get really bad. And I just hope that people start thinking like, and what is another policy? You know, is the real question. What's another policy going to do?
It's not, I mean, nothing. It's going to, somebody else comes in, could chop it up all to pieces and it'd be something else. So it gets changed all the time and can be changed at any time. So
that's why we are not supporting this policy, is because there are too many questions that, and then for me, it's the whole straight children have to opt out, because if you made sure that every parent in that division got one in their hand, and you knew like you had to go before your child could go to school on day one, you had to know, like, if that was in there, every parent had to receive a copy of that opt out. I might. But for the divisions that are thinking about adopting this because it protects parental rights, I will say to you 100%, as I did Spotsylvania, if you did not adopt, if you were the 90% that did not adopt the first one, don't blink at this one.
Yeah.
Don't blink at it. Because it's insane. Because when I kept hearing people, that division say, but it's law. It was law in 2020 when you did not adopt it.
That's right.
Why in the world would you do it now? And that's what baffles me. And I won't pull it up right now, but I have the ACLU, like the 10%, because they broke it down. Like, is that if nobody's gotten sued or had their funding taken away under Ralph Northam for not doing it, why are you afraid of Glenn Youngkin's outrage or his whatever? Okay, he's not going to come after you. I promise you that much.
Oh.
But if Ralph Northam, because we live in a county that was threatened and they adopted it because, and then they found out that 90% didn't do it. And yet here we are still 2 years later and they haven't done anything about it. But if Ralph Northam could not constitutionally come after divisions and pull their funding for not adopting this, then the whole thing of, well, it's the law. Okay, well, it was, I don't know if these people think it is a new law. I don't know if people have been checked out that long, but it was a law in 2020. It was a law in 2021 that your school board did not adopt because it was insane. Why would you bring it into the fold now?
That is a very good question.
I was talking to Tiffany Polifko in Loudon, and she was like, how do we stop, the normies, the people that don't get it in the smaller division, like, from thinking that, and I said, Tiffany, I don't know. I've racked through my brain. I cried. I screamed that night. I almost gave up because in Spotsylvania, they charged ahead with it anyway. And it baffles my mind. And if you think I'm calling you out, I'm not. I'm just speaking the truth, is that you should, that division should be the litmus test of what not to do. And they have a conservative school board. Is that it's not about, it is about, do you understand the words that are coming out of your own mouth? Do you understand the words of this? And then asking the questions, can you specifically tell me what this is going to look like? And if they're like, well, what did they say? It's, I think someone over there told me it's going to be a moving, like something like it's going to be a moving, something that we develop along the way. No, that's not good enough for me. You're not bringing this into my division without a concrete plan of what this is going to look like, because an evolving process. No, just say no. Like,
no, they don't. But I mean, I will say this, as far as Chester County goes, that if they decide to adopt this, I'm going to have to bring as many parents as possible to get these opt-out forms to all these kids. It's just going to have to be something I've got to get done, because these kids are
we spread this across Chesterfield. Okay. Yeah. We are also having an opt-out, and it's not going to be a lecture. It's going to be a drive up, get the forms. We're going to provide them for you. I'm not even going to lecture anymore. Is that these are, and this is every division. I can send them to any division you want. Hold your own event. Okay. Someone from Loudon contacted me and said, well, we had the opt out last year. It's not here this year. Guess what? It didn't go away. Okay.
Well,
Because they're not offering it to you doesn't mean it went away. Is
yeah,
that
you got to
because
find it, and that's the problem. A lot of parents understand that these opt-outs do exist, and they're a lot more than what they even know. So, I mean, you have to find them to use them, and I think that's a huge part of the problem too. So,
if any
yeah,
division out there is interested in having an opt-out drive up, like
yeah,
literally, I got so frustrated because I went to war with this county to make sure that it was sent, I cannot put the pen in your hand and make you turn it in for your child. Like, we can only do free as much as we can do. Like, but we will print it for you. Like, and then if they tell you whatever, call me. I'll go to war with you. But if any division out there, and so if they do, because if they don't, and this is the thing, they will adopt it. And this is my prediction. Because they've had me in their ear for 2 years, and I know so much about certain members on that board and recorded about how all that went down, is that they know that it would be very unwise. And so when they do, if they do, I'm going to say that, because you think I don't have a case built and attorneys ready to go, but that's going to take money. So if this goes sideways and your division does not restore your parental rights, you can squat up with us. It's going to take money, but we will see this all the way to the Supreme Court is what this comes down to. Because if it was your guns, would you do the same? Is the real question.
that's correct.
And so in closing, I just pulled up a couple of your screens. So these were some of your notes, like, what they do here is this. If your school board writes a policy that says this, student shall with his or her and then cites federal law or a law, or is that you need to write your school board and say, no, I'm going to need explicit verbiage, not court case, as to what in the world you're talking about. Like, do not accept any of this. Like, is that because you did the work deeper than anybody? What did you find in doing all this?
I did, however, find something I should have known probably, and you probably already know, so I'm going to show my ignorance on this. That's actually, I did not realize this, and that gender dysphoria is actually recognized by the ADA as a disability. I don't know if anybody knew that. That's kind of a new thing to me. I don't know. You probably did, but I didn't. I don't know that everybody else realized that either.
And that goes to these 2 shows that I did with Deb like 2 months ago on the DSMV 5 TR and so you can go to The Reason We Learn and watch the shows that we did there, because now they're using because guys, if you don't know this, the psychiatry associations, that would be school and across, and the pediatrician, they're all part of this, by the way. And so yes, it is. And why is that important now? So when they yell at you and when you say gender dysphoria is a mental illness, they can't get mad at you anymore because they want it there now. Because why? Medicaid. Now they want it to be paid for. So
That's
the next
right.
time that you
That's
bring
why I brought
up,
it up. Yeah.
the next time that you say it is a mental illness, they can't get mad at you because they like it there, because they want us and Medicaid to pay for their surgeries. And so that's where that comes in. And it's important in knowing this stuff, because if you go up there, they're going to be like, oh, did they just say that? It's not a mental. Well, I'm sorry, but it is. And your own people advocated for it to be there because you want Medicaid to pay for your surgery, is what's really important to understand. There's just a lot of moving pieces here, but in the end, like, what would your advice be to parents who have, or to schools, divisions, delegates, anybody watching, as the weeks and months approach, if you have not done this yet in your division?
Well, first of all, I'd like to, any school board members listening right now, I wouldn't, you guys don't need to be even considering this policy. Just put it somewhere and forget about it if it's possible. Depends on whoever's on the board and how it's going to get pushed through. As far as parents go, I mean, in our division, you and I, we advocate for parents to come out to almost every event that we do, educate them what we know and the procedures that we do, show them opt-outs. We try to do events. I guess one of my key things would be that we really need a lot more, what's what I'm looking for. Oh gosh, I'm a loss of words right now. We need more parents active, involved in what Ann and I do. Ann and I,
yeah. I mean,
And so
it used to be grassroots was money poor, people rich. And it's important to understand that we are money poor and people poor. And that is because of the amount of astroturfing done by people of our own party. So we are fighting truth, unapologetic truth. And unfortunately, it's falling on both sides. And we need more people to understand the direction that, because being called alt-right, if you're a conservative, if you're okay with that, like is where people need to understand the direction that we're heading. Like if we continue to acknowledge the language that's being spewed at us.
And, I mean, it don't even have to do, because Ann does a lot of research, and I think that's an understatement, but she does a lot of research, and I do a lot less research than Ann does on certain aspects of it. And so we both have our niches, whatever you want to call it, right, Ann? And so, but they all clump together at the end, and that's why we're doing this show, because we both disagree with this policy. We do not want this policy. And we do believe that it just needs to be thrown in the trash, and guys just need to move on. There's no need. If you didn't adopt it then, why adopt it now? And why are we pushing for it now? And so the 90% of them out there that still haven't taken this on yet, move on to something else. Just leave this one alone.
Ignore it. Ignore the mainstream media.
Nothing's going to happen.
Ignore Youngkin's outrage that Fairfax didn't adopt it. If you didn't adopt it the first time, roll on. Ignore it.
Yeah, because nothing's going to happen.
If you did, seriously, and I'm not going to tell you, like, when the thumbnail for this says conservative parents do not support, I'm strictly saying the two in the picture, which would be and so since we're the only two that show up for 63,000 children in Chesterfield County, mine have been pulled, by the way, is that, so do we speak for the parents of Chesterfield County? Yes, much like the VEA, who represents 14% of teachers, speaks for all teachers. Is if you don't show up or get in the arena, yes, we do. But is it in other divisions? I would seriously start asking in the next month, if you have not had this brought to the table yet, and you're in Virginia Beach, or you are in Fairfax, who voted in Fairfax, I would be cheering. And then I would be calling me saying, hey, how do I get in on this lawsuit? And is that the crazy is that because it took a major mental shift for me, even me, to be like, I don't need a policy to return my rights. I'm going to go to war with the school board. And then the person who's not like, and then you have to look at straight children have always been able to find a different bathroom if they wanted to. And then ask the question of, if they don't have an opt-out, are they going to be forced to go into a bathroom with non-biological females or non-biological males? That's really the question that policy is, that so then what does that look like? Do all opt-outed children have to wait in the line and then get escorted like kindergartners to the bathroom? Do they have to wear a badge that says I am allowed to be opted out? Like, is that
how do they exactly? And that's exactly what I said. The ones that are supporting, well, there's a lot of good things in there, but they have to do all these other things. That sounds great. But like you said, how are they going to identify it? You're opening up, I guess, a box that you don't want to open up and go down that road on, because you're going to introduce more sexual assaults, more rapes in the future. And it's going to happen. It's not a matter of if. And this is not scare tactics or anything like that. One child too many it's too many right now that's going to get affected by this policy. So again, what does that opt-out look like, right? Do they escort those children over to a one-stall bathroom? Is it a staff bathroom? Where are they going to take them? I mean, it makes no sense, and they're singling them out. It's not something we should be doing.
No, and then it comes to the main point of it is the overarching and this is my geopolitical war history master's coming in, is that you can go from the Bolsheviks to Che Guevara to Mao to whoever, is that the longer that we continue to acknowledge this is okay, this is good for children, and that this is a thing that children should be allowed to continue to do, like even if parents had originally always been a part of the equation, is what is this world going to look like if we continue to acknowledge? Because, and then I want to close with this, is that when in history have you ever been able to go to the doctor and say, I would like to have my leg cut off. I feel that my leg is not a part of my body. Or at a more simple fashion, I feel like I have a spine disease. I would like a disc replaced. And I would also like to be put on a lifetime supply of Percocets because that's how I feel. And then think like, is that we have to start shifting our mind and then apply that to children. You know, is that when in history have you ever been able to diagnose yourself, go to a doctor and have them affirm it, and then proceed with life-altering, non-reversible surgery? Why? Because someone somewhere said that there are too many questions that people are not answering. They're just going, oh yeah, maybe we should respect the rights of children. Like, no, think it's common sense. There's something very wrong here. And until we all start to acknowledge and then look to the fact of why are our own people co-signing this stuff, is that there's a lot of questions, but like I put up our information. It's like literally what we do, what I do. I mean, I've been on the phone with different school board people running, you know, is that, and we're not doing this to tell you all these conservative parents, okay, these alt-right conservative parents who will not pander to the middle will not support this policy. And we've done the work, and it's called being principally driven. And if you're not in the arena of knowing your division, or you're not asking the questions of what exactly will this look like, because that's the problem with these policies, which are not law, by the way, is that that's what's created the chaos in this state to date, is these mad policies coming from a non-elected board of education that are not law, guys. Law is law, policy is policy. Okay, they are very different. When they try to Darvo you and talk about the law set, no. In the show before, I broke down the very brief law that had the 8 things the department had to write the policy on. Okay, no. The law did not do that. This is what the law states. Is people need to be very clear about the law and the policy and what they state. So I love having you on here, even though you live like 2 miles down the road.
Yeah,
and,
that's true.
But we need to start bringing you on. And, you know, like I said, TED is History Moments with TED.
On Thursdays.
Yes, Thursday. This upcoming Thursday, we're just going to kind of do an intro, like, you know, and then literally, like, so you won't even have to see my face. Like, Thursdays at 7, TED is going to have TED History Moments with TED. And it's going to be homeschooling resources. It's going to be actual history. Is that we're branching out. Like, we want, you know, I had another teacher contact me today. She left the public school education. She wants to get in. I think she taught math. Is that, you know, we want to encompass, like, we want to be the resource for like homeschooling, you know, like resource, because a lot of parents are afraid to pull their kids out because they have no idea what to do. So if you're watching and you want to be a part of that because TED is also developing resource, like who can be a team of homeschool, because you and I, that there's people outside of going to war. There are lots of people out there with, when we talk about resources that you may have that you can bring to the table. We need all of that. Like, if you're a homeschooler and you know how to create that roadmap for parents, we need you. Like, is that there's so many facets of this that we, like, people come to me all the time about homeschool. I'm like, don't know. Like, and so, you know, we need people. If there's something that you can bring to the table, you know, and you're willing to give up, you know, an hour a week, you know, 2 hours a month, like, contact us, because being actual grassroots in the state of Virginia, and I mean, really in the nation right now, I don't think people have any clue what we fight daily, like, to keep this alive. Like, but
That's the truth.
you know, I mean, really. And,
Yes,
but
that is the truth.
is that I was told 2
Mhm.
years ago, before you and I even met, that my approach and that I had to play nice in politics, and that I would never get inside the General Assembly. Already been there. But 2, you know, my approach would never get me invited back. But people keep calling, wanting us to be there and wanting us to speak and be a part of things. Is that what we're doing is right? And I have 100%, like, I know in my heart, and it's not only because I've done the research, but we are on the right side of God and good, and we are on the right side of history. And people really need to start examining where their allegiances lie, and if they are on the right side. And that's not right and left. That's good and evil. Like, because that's where we are, is that it is not R and D. It is good and evil at this point.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
all right, dude.
All right.
It's always
Good to be
honor.
back on.
All right. I will see you later.
Okay. Have a good one.
All right.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, Bobby.